Hey there, guys. How's it going? Jovan, Hutton, Pulizer here. I'm doing a special segment for you because I've been watching my Telegram, and I've noticed that many people might possibly not understand what is entailed in auditing an election on any level. And since people all across the country are asking questions, I see comments like, I wish I had some information, and why is it taking so long, and everything else going on. And so I'm going to give you some tidbits that you need to understand. Plus, it's also what you can help share in groups when people ask this question, because now people are starting to say, well, I don't know if I trust the process. Billy said it. Hey, what's really going on is you have to understand the idiosyncrasies with this particular type of audit, right? Because really simple, this is different. It's different than anything else you have ever seen in your life. And I want to explain it to you. Now, I'm going to show you one short video piece for two reasons. The first reason I'm going to show you the short video piece is because, there's a movie coming out the 26th. And on the 26th, it's the movie that's Patrick Byrne's movie about, what he calls the big rig. And so I play a part in it, and I want to specifically show you one of the ways that audits are shortcuts. Some of the way the games are played. That's why I'm going to show you this clip. And I do a little demonstration with blocks here. Now, it's very important to watch this again, because that's an example of how audits have been done in the past. It is literally designed not literally to give people answers. So watch this real quick. Just pay attention to the little parts of it. And it is just to make sure that you understand how some of the hand sleight goes on, like a shell game. And those are always based on what's called fractional audits. What's going on in Arizona is not a fractional audit, but you need to understand the difference. So let's get to that first difference so you understand what I mean when I say a fractional audit, how it's rigged and how it can be worked against us. Watch this.
So here's what most people don't know about these voting machines. All of them have variations, but let me ask you a question. Most of us have used a vending machine or, say, a car wash. We take out our dollar bill, we put it into the machine, but if the bill's bad, what happened? It spits it back out to you. So what do? You try to straighten out the bill or find another bill till you get one that works. Did you know in these so-called voting machines that when it takes that ballot in, if something's wrong with it, you don't get notified? It's actually set over into another electronic bin for somebody else to decide what did you intend to vote. I say these systems are not set up, should we say, for security. I think they're set up to maximize opportunity. And sometimes if you know how to use those opportunities, you can game the system. Let me give you an example. Let's say all of these 160 million votes were dollar bills. We'd have $160 million setting out in front of us. As I said, it's all yours, absolutely guaranteed, 160 million bucks. And you say, okay, I want to count it, but we only pull out a few bills and say, see these 10s, see these 20s. You can't see it all, you can only see a little bit. Are you going to believe that that's actually yours? Not at all. In all systems, whether it be you're going to do a public company or you're going to be audited by a bank, they ask you and your accounts to look at everything down to the penny. Why don't we do this in our election systems? And it's because the auditing is set up not to find the truth, Let me give you an example. Follow with me here. If you look at my blocks that I've set out on the table, these represent boxes of ballots. Now, if you were dealing with a state, let's say like Georgia, you would have 2,300 locations of boxes with multiple boxes in every location. Now, each of these boxes in this scenario have ballots in them. And so let's say, okay, we're going to do a random audit. Let's look at a few percent of them. So you're going to look at them. Let's say we're going to take this one, and let's take this one over here, and here you go. We're going to keep these over here, and we're taking almost all of them, and we're going to do an audit. Here you go. And we run those, and we never find anything. Do you know why that happens? It's because these boxes are coded. And if you look at the numbers on the outside, what I did in that little smoke and mirrors right there is I pulled the ones that are the odd numbers. These are the positive numbers. What I'm doing if I'm gaming the system, I know I'm not going to find errors in the odd boxes. I will in the even boxes. And so what they do is they do this shell game of partial audits. And that's why every time it happens, you find out, well, one woman signed for her husband, and that's the only discrepancy we found. Partial audits do not work. That is how the system is rigged to never give an answer and to never find a solution.
You know, a good friend in life is a friend that will tell you exactly the way it is, not what you want to hear. A friend, somebody who cares about you, somebody who's going to tell you exactly what the facts are, even if it hurts your feelings. So for many of you, what I'm about to say is I am going to hurt your feelings. Nothing about this audit is instant. You can't have both. You can't complain about Twitter and Facebook suppressing us, and it's gone totally wild. Think of it. What they've done is just like the phone company when we were calling each other in the 80s before there was social media, and the phone company listening and say, I don't like what y'all are talking about, so I'm going to shut off your phone. That's what's going on in social media. Now, social media, you know, is only about really truncated bullshit messaging. Little bitty lies amplified, little bitty lies amplified over and over and over. Now, what's interesting I find about this audit is people want answers now. You know why people want answers now? Because this shit hurts. But that's the human condition. We don't learn unless it directly affects us, unless it hurts, unless it causes us problems. Then finally, we start paying attention and we do what is right and we fix these things forever. So here's the pain. You can't go on social media complaining about, we don't have any results from Arizona. What's going on? I just think it's all crap. I think it's all whatever. You can't, on one hand, demand an instant social media response to something that is actually a legal process. You can't say, I'm so important that I want you to post it on Facebook and I want you to post it now, which is kind of narcissistic. But at the same time says, we want this fixed, we want it over, we want to exactly get it fixed forever and never let it happen again. Those two things don't go together. Hard work, detail, effort, pushing everything together and doing it at the most incredible standard ever is what it takes. That is why the gold standard in Arizona is being set. Now I'm going to reduce it very, very, very simple for you, okay? Very simple for you. That if we're going to stop the crap that's going on and we're going to fix this, then you must embrace the process that we have to go through to do it right, transparently, ethically, legally, morally, and spiritually correct to get this done. So I'm just going to do some simple math with you because it's in understanding the simple math that you will understand this process and why it must be slow and methodical to get it right, and why you need to stay strong. So let me share my screen with you, folks. And let me get to the right screen. Here we go. Stand by. And we're going to do some simple math. Because why? Everybody wants the people to be held accountable. We all know that. We all know that. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure this is accountable. So I just got a calculator on my screen, and we're going to do some simple math, folks, because this is what you need to understand is going on not only in Arizona, we'll go on in every state where this is done, okay? And why? There are basically 2.1 million ballots being audited in Arizona. So that's 2,100,000, and there's, a little bit change from that. Now let's say that just looking at the ballot, okay? Just looking at the ballots. So we can do this incredible process, but let's just say that took alone 15 seconds. So we're going to multiply that by 15. You ready? That basically means it takes 31,500,000 seconds. Okay? 31,500,000 seconds. So here is what has to happen. You have to divide that number by 60. Why? Because there are 60 seconds in a minute. Then you take that number and you divide it by 60 because there are 60 minutes in an hour. Then you take that number, now we're dealing in hours, and divide it by 24 because there's 24 hours in a day. Do you see that math right there? That math tells you if it just took 15 seconds, just 15 seconds, folks, 15 seconds to look at every single ballot and do it right, it would take 365 days. That is the math. If you could just deal with it for 15 seconds, it would take 365 days. Now, why is this math right here? Why is it so important? Because unless you get your head around the manpower it takes to look at everything, you are complaining that we want it the old way that finds nothing because we just want an answer in days or minutes or weeks or months. You can't have it both ways. This is the difference between setting the gold standard and doing it half-ass. Setting the gold standard and doing it the right way for you, your children, your grandchildren, and every other child that comes into our wonderful country being born here as a citizen. It's about doing it right. Now, the numbers aren't 100% grim, right? Because, in fact, if you had 50 people dedicated to counting, just doing that one 15-second function, then it actually would drop that down to 7 days. But that's one function of 20. So now you got to add that 20 for the same 50 people. Now you're back at 145 days. And that includes no transit time. So let's say, well, we know there's over 100 people there. Okay, I'll take that number and I'll divide it in half again. Bang, we're at 72 days. But that includes no potty breaks, no additional investigation time, no other procedures, right? So you have to understand, this is a simple process that is based on the magnitude of math. And then, and only then, do you do the reports. Now, let me tell you why this is important, okay? I'm gonna tell you why it's incredibly, incredibly important. I know everybody in the United States of America, and I know everybody around the world just wants some freaking answers. Do you understand that, and I'm pulling this right out of my rumpus guys, but if I, in my process, discovered a way to detect every fingerprint that ever touched the ballot, I'm making this up. I don't want to see it in the news headlines tomorrow, okay? I'm just giving the example, okay? But I just basically made a way to literally find out every fingerprint that could touch a ballot. And the breakthrough would be, even in criminal forensic investigations, right? One fingerprint lifting can take hours and hours. We just did a 15-second boom, and you see how many days it takes. But let's say my major breakthrough that I could do it in seconds, bang, and I could tell you every person, and I could match their fingerprints, and I could pull up all their information, and I could just hand over a file that says, here's everybody that touched it. And then you would see, outside of the voter and everybody in the election or audit process that touched it, the people that stood out different would be the ones you would look at. Follow me? Now let me tell you the flip side of the coin. If even I was able to do that from a technology standpoint, and I made that known, and again, folks, I picked it right out of my ass, so don't make it the new Q bullshit anana wana prana blue prana wana Q report tomorrow, because it's horseshit. But let's say I could. That's something you don't just throw out there. Now, why don't you just throw that out there? You know why you don't throw it out there? It's because an hour after that was known, there would be new legislation being introduced across the United States to outlaw lifting fingerprints off a ballot without somebody's authorization or whatever, or somebody's poo-poo or whatever, or we can't do it because it'll expose illegals, or it'll be poor people don't have fingerprints and therefore you're judging them. I don't know. You know, just the crap that gets made up, the horse shit that all has to happen. And all of a sudden, the bad side, the dark side to this light of good and evil, light and darkness colliding together in our time, right, would be crashing to do new laws to keep you from understanding what really happened. And so the bottom line is, social media and thinking that you're going to get answers in social media is not only foolish, it is a fool's game. And to demand it out there, right, is ridiculous. Because your I gotta know now would actually compromise the whole process. And that is why there are gold standards being set. That is why this process is different than anything else ever in the world, because it's never been done before. Nobody has ever looked at elections this way. Nobody has ever looked at the ballots this way, and all of them. And nobody has brought the incredible computer knowledge, programming, understanding of how to use technology to bear so we can find out what happened. Because you must understand, this is not about who's president at all. This is not about who's a Democrat or who's a Republican. Not at all. This is not about any one party. This is only about one thing: election integrity. Did your vote count? Period. Did your vote that you put in somehow change into something else? It's about equal protection. It's about civil rights. It's about the future of our great nation, because it's really simple. If, in fact, your vote, when you vote, doesn't count, then America fails. And if America fails, the world fails. Last but not least, our great country, why it works is because of the meticulous, clear, easy to understand nature of the paper that breathed life into our country. And that is called the Declaration of Independence. And the additional Bill of Rights and everything else that founded our great nation and made it stand out above others, so that we're the nation that other countries want to break into and become part of. They never talk about that when they talk about a socialist agenda. Just ask the Venezuelan Mark Zuckerberg. You've ever heard about the Venezuelan Mark Zuckerberg? It's because there isn't a Venezuelan Mark Zuckerberg. Their system doesn't allow it. And that is what freedom can create: incredible opportunity. And because we must get this right, and because our country was founded on paper, it is all about the paper and getting that very, very simple document, our ballot. Absolutely correct. I cannot express to you how important it is to get it correct. Mark your calendars, please. Pass this to your friends so they understand what's going on with the audit and why a brand new standard is being created that you have a say. When you tell your lawmakers, we want this standard, that is why over 20 states came to Arizona to check it out. Now, some of them was probably just trying to look good to their voters and won't do it. It's your job to stay on top of them and audit them and audit what they're going to do, because they've come and seen the gold standards. Don't forget to mark your calendar for the 26th. I love you all. We're doing our best. We will get this done. It will be done right and methodical. I absolutely guarantee it. Somebody asked me, how can you do this with 85 million people resting on your shoulders? And that's not it. That's the whole world. And I'm part of this world. And I intend to do it right. And everybody working on this intends to do what's right, just to understand if something went wrong. What was it? How can it be fixed to make sure it never happens again, so that your vote always counts the way you intended to vote? I'm going to leave you with another trailer. Please share this. Please share this. Get the word out. That's the only way to encourage. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you were asked by someone to explain, how did the computers rig votes? How did the numbers change? Most people would never be able to, much less explain it or even understand it. Your eyes just glaze over. What we have built into our voting systems are opportunities to create issues. Let's look at this. You heard one government official right after the election say, it's paper, folks. You can't hack paper. Of course you can hack paper. You've been to a candy machine or, say, a car wash and put in a dollar bill, and it spits it back out because it's saying, this dollar bill's no good. That's the machine telling you, I can't take that piece of paper. I want a good piece of paper. Well, did you know our voting machines are not designed to do that? In fact, most people think that when they go in and vote, that you do the normal process. They hand you a piece of paper. It's the ballot. You walk over to a machine. It's called the ballot marking device. Now, first thing you have to ask yourself, are you incapable of filling out a little tiny ovid? Well, why do they do that? Because if that device can read a vote that's printed, can't you mass print votes and they'll be read? You have to understand how this works. And so when you go in and you mark your ballot, supposedly it marks your ballot and it hands it back. What do? You walk over to another person, you hand it to them, and they feed it into the scanner and they say, "Thank you, Mr. Pulitzer, you voted." No, you didn't vote. You thought you voted. All you did was mark a piece of paper with what you wanted to vote, but your vote didn't count then. Most people don't understand anywhere in that process, from the fobs to the transfers to the tally. What's a tally? It's just the calculator that counts them. Why is all of that hidden? Why doesn't your vote count the moment you cast it? And it's because these systems are designed specifically to break apart the process and put a human in between it. Now, you think it's machine driven, so let's give an example. All through the day, these ballots are being fed in, and they go to a fob, which most people don't know about that. Same thing you use on your desktop, just a little USB fob. What happens to that fob? Well, that fob is actually given to someone who then takes it to another location to tally it. Who is that person? How are they vetted? People will always create opportunity if they're there to do it. You can't swear that somebody's not nefarious. That fob just being handled by a human creates an opportunity to game the system.